And in the meantime, while he was gone, we decided, you know, what were we going to do staying in Shreveport, Louisiana, when we owned a house back in Shelbyville. It had been rented, but we were managed to get that back. And my aunt and uncle, if any of you have been around a long time, know the Munger family. It was Ray and Goldie Munger. And they helped get the house ready for us. Even before we came back, they started doing things for us and took us in for a while until we got the house ready to live in. Jim, why don't you tell us about when you came back, what you did after that?
Well, I was released from active duty in '46, came back and resumed teaching and resumed coaching football. Retired from football coaching in 1951 or 1953, and then from teaching in '71. And during my teaching career, I also was Dean of Boys for a time and at various times assistant principal. When the new high school was built and the new football field was built there, I was very honored to have that football field named after me. And so
when you hear McKleand Stadium,
McKleand
know
Stadium,
it was named after
one of the few places in the United States where people will pronounce that name correctly. when you say it, so.
They don't usually. There were 3 football stadiums here. The very first one, well, the second one I have to explain where it was. There's a swimming pool there now, Meridian Park Swimming Pool, the community pool. And across the street from that was the first football field where Mac first coached football, and then they moved to that one and then out to the new one. At the second football field, that was where he retired, and he didn't actually retire. He decided he loved football, so he refereed for a number of years after that. So my daughter and I sat through even more football games than we had so far in our lives. After that, as if he still didn't have enough football, he and the Barnetts, there's a Barnett field out there too, Doc Barnett, he and the Barnetts ran the concession stand constantly. Water.
Okay.
Mac was on the Plan Commission here at Shelbyville forever. And when he went to those meetings in Kiwanis, he was active in Kiwanis. My daughter and I would go out to eat for one night. There was a restaurant within walking distance because he had the only car we had. He was on the Plan Commission. He was very active in the First Presbyterian Church. If the door opened, he was there, and he was there when it was shut. So he was in and out of that building constantly, and was named Elder Emeritus a number of years ago. Of course, was in the National Guard because that was where he was called up to go to active duty. He retired as a lieutenant colonel after 20 years in the National Guard. He also worked for the parks. And in the 50s, he was park director in the summer. He's full-time. In the winter, it was kind of part-time. But he worked there until, I forget when you finished working there, but even after he retired from teaching, he still went back and mowed grass. It was wonderful for him. But tell him about our son and what happened with him.
Well, it was summer of '57 between Jim's sophomore or freshman and sophomore year at Purdue, and he was working the park system, and at Morrison Park was mowing the lawn, and there was a problem with the mower, and Jim slipped into the mower and almost cut off his leg. And so he spent the summer in a cast, and finally got the leg working right again, but there was a little bit of excitement.
Yeah, it's kind of a like son, like father thing, because a few years after that, Mac, the great common sense man that he was standing on a picnic table in the same place that our son had his leg injury. He had a chainsaw running in his hand, chopping limbs right over his head. One came down, knocked the saw out of his hand, and chopped off the whole inside part of his arm. And so, you didn't learn from Jim's accident, did you? Kept right on going. In later years, Mac was inducted into the Indiana Football Hall of Fame, and that's kind of the end of the story.
End of the story.
Yeah.
So we thank you for coming.
And Shelbyville, we have always loved Shelbyville, and this community has given far much more to us than we have ever given to Shelbyville. So we love it here. Thank you.
Any questions?
Anybody has any questions or any memories or anything? Be sure you take a brochure before you go. If you want some reading for later on.